Hey, I'm Jonathan, and I live in London, England.
Hey, I'm Jeff, and I live in Perth, Australia.
Together, we are Echo and Sidetrack.
We produce music that sounds like this.
And this.
And even this. This podcast is about music, creativity, and everything in between the giant space that separates us.
Welcome to A Band Apart with Echo and Sidetrack. Today's episode of A Band Apart with Echo and Sidetrack is brought to you by Short Order Burger Co. I, for one, believe it's the best burger in Perth, Australia. And whether you live in Perth and you haven't tried it, or whether you're going to go to Perth and you're looking for the best burger, I advise you go to this place. They've got two stores, one on Hay Street in the city, 800 Hay Street, and one in Fremantle at 3 William Street. The Fremantle is a new store. It looks like an absolute vibe. Great place to go for a drink and enjoy a big old burger. When you go into the store, mention the code word Sidetrack and you'll get 10% off your order. That's a gift from us and a gift from Short Order to you for listening to the podcast. Go out there and enjoy a burger, yo. It just started very slowly and sensually as well.
Wow, that's an incredible secret, Jonathan. I hope the listeners can work out what that is. Or they'll just ask forever. How have you been? How was your week?
A struggle. I feel like I've said a struggle a lot on this podcast. This podcast has kind of been an in-depth look into how maybe at the start of last year it was more about how you were feeling, and then this latter part of the series, the last 2 months, have been about how I'm feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been okay. I think just coming to terms with the fact that I'm coming home. Since we last spoke about it, I've just tried to do some reflecting and kind of told some more people. I'm going to wind down my work. Yeah, just coming to terms with that, basically. And a lot of other stuff that we've got going on in the background. It just feels like now that there's a deadline to leave the country, everything's kind of feeling a bit squeezed for me. I did a meditation. I went for a run this morning and then did the that insight meditation, the breathing one, the breathwork one, which for the listeners back home, there's an app called Insight. And it's got lots of different meditations on there. It's free. And there's one that Jeff and I like to use, which replicates some breathwork that both of us have done with a woman in Perth. What came up for me during it, because it kind of involves some heavy breathing through the mouth that can kind of get quite psychedelic. And what kept coming up for me was forgiveness, forgive yourself, forgive Jeff, forgive. Yeah, and I kept coming back to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself.
And forgive the world for causing such a kerfuffle.
Yeah, but like forgive yourself for not being more productive and like just let go. It's okay, buddy. Like just those feelings. I felt like I haven't really heard from my higher self lately, and that was kind of them telling me that they're here and saying, hey, buddy. So I would also like to say to you that I forgive you. A live forgiving on a podcast.
This is better than a gift giving.
I can't remember when it was. Once you said to me, you can't sing, in a kind of harsh way after I was singing something. Or maybe I've said that I wanted to sing on a song and you were just like, you can't fucking sing. And it was probably about sometime in the last 6 or 7 years.
I seem to remember it possibly being when the studio was at Mum and Dad's.
Yeah. And I really like singing, but I'm afraid to do it. And you saying that to me, that's like a past trauma for me.
I'm sorry, buddy.
100%. That's okay. That's okay. but I'm trying to recognize those things and let go of them, because they're the things that I say I let go of, and then they kind of bubble up in moments where I'm stressed.
For sure.
And that's one thing that on the weekend I was at work and it was busy, and I hadn't thought, I don't know why I haven't done this earlier, but I put on the Moulin Rouge soundtrack and just sung as loud as I could and just belted out this. I love Moulin Rouge, obviously, and enjoy musicals. And that's something that you've always told me that's not your bread and butter. And you've always said to me, like, that's a bit lame.
But I don't think
that's a bit on the nose.
I don't think I ever have. You continue, sorry. I don't think I ever have directly been like, well, I like Moulin Rouge. I like musicals.
Yeah, but I think maybe that was one of the first things that I was kind of interested in, and you weren't. And I do remember feeling like, oh, Jeff thinks this is a bit lame.
Oh, yeah. Am I allowed to be into this? Should I be into
Am
this?
I allowed to be into this?
Yeah. Oh, that's totally fair to feel.
And it just reminded me, like, I don't sing enough. So yeah, that's just some personal stuff that has come up for me this week that I'm being kind of letting go of that fact, because I know that the Jeff that said that is not the same Jeff that stands before me today, and the Jeff that said that to the Jono is not the same Jono that I am today, and I can let go of that.
No man enters the same river twice, Jonathan. He is not the same man. It is not the same river. I'm really sorry for shutting you down like that. I can almost envisage the kind of frustration that would have led to it. I'm not trying to justify it, but it might have been something like we're working on a song that needed a vocal, and we're like, in that frustrated state, like we don't have a solution.
Yeah.
And then, that's probably gone on for not just a matter of minutes, probably a matter of hours. Like we've thrown a lot of things at the wall. And then you've been like, maybe I could try singing on it. And I'm just going like, why the fuck are we wasting our time like thinking that you can sing on it? We need an actual vocalist, because I'm like, we need an actual vocalist. And you're like, maybe I could sing on it. Just give me like 15 minutes. I'm like, how about you spend some time in your downtime coming up with an idea and then present it to me, and then all of that got combined into just like, you can't fucking sing. And I'm so sorry for that kind of reaction, because what it really should have been is, awesome, man, like I'll bounce out a version and go into another room and try and work on something and come back and let's work it. That could be super exciting.
I think it highlights just how careful we have to be with people who admire us.
Yeah.
Especially like people with younger siblings, because I'm sure in your mind, it's not like you go, Jono can't sing because he's fucking dumb and stupid and all these things. So
I walk around going, Jonathan can't sing. Hey, this is my brother. He can't sing.
He can't sing. It's not that. It's more of just my little brother's being annoying. So I'm going to say that something harsh to him.
Or even my little brother's presenting a solution that I don't think is going to work, so I'm just going to shut it down.
Yeah. And I mean, parents do it to kids. Older people do it to younger people. More experienced people do it to less experienced people. And I think just at that time, I am so susceptible to what other people think. And most of all, you. And I think something like that becomes so much bigger in your mind, and the person who says it doesn't even think about it. And it's so funny because I've said things to people that have been like off the cuff things that I haven't thought about again. And people have said to me like, oh, well, what you said to me then really hurt me. And it's kind of surprising. But then at the same time, I've got things that I'm holding on to from when I was like 12 throwaway things that fucking friends said to me in primary school, or like, I don't know, man, like trauma. I'm recognizing that I have a lot of trauma built up, and I think a lot of people do, and I think that motivates. It's crazy how much that dictates decisions you make and your life.
For sure.
And I think that just this whole year has kind of highlighted some things for me that I'm actively trying to work through. And that's why I forgive you, buddy, because I love you. And I know that you were not talking out of your golden little heart there. You were talking from a frustrated point of view, and so I forgive you.
Thanks, man. And I believe you can achieve anything you want to, and you can sing. Yeah, and you will sing again. I don't know. Like I
would like to sing.
I think the being told you can't do something is pretty easy to like just be like, well, I guess I can't, and then you don't. And then some of my old logic has been, well, I guess you didn't want it good enough, like much anyway. Fuck you.
There's definitely two kinds of people. There's people that go like, you can't do this, and someone goes, watch me do this, which I hear about on podcasts all the time. But if the person that's telling me I can't do this, if I value their opinion, there's part of me that's like, oh, well, they're probably right. And that you're like 100% that person.
Yeah, and I suppose that some of that is self-belief. Like,
oh yeah, definitely.
You need to have that self-belief that you can do something not in spite of what someone else says, but like alongside what someone else might say. Because you realize that my opinion was not so tightly held. You might have believed it at that time, but if you had turned around the next day and been like, I've done this, I'd have been like, that's like, I could have been like, that's great. Like I was probably more likely to, but that again, I'm looking back in hindsight, and I can imagine my frustration was so red hot that I believed that the solution was to shut you down and say, almost like, stop being so stupid, boy. That's not what you're doing. Get back to work, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's not a way to be a leader. That's or get the best performance out of someone, or even get any kind of work out of anyone. Kind of makes me feel a bit unhappy, really.
Oh, buddy, I don't feel unhappy, because I think you've definitely changed from that person.
Thanks.
You've changed for the better. And I mean, it's just another example of things you have to go through to come out the other side and decide, that's a goal of mine, to sing on one of our tracks. That's a goal of mine. And I can now work towards that. And maybe, I don't know, sometime there can be vocals or something that feature me, and it's not even like I want to be a vocalist. What it more is like, allows me to have permission to sing without feeling judgment by myself in my room. That's all it is. That's the win. And to get to that point, and that to be enough, I have to go through this path. This is just the path. Just like you had to go through the path of maybe being harsher on me to now recognize that you were, to now blossom into the person you've blossomed into over the last year, to now be a better big brother to me, as I be a better younger brother to you. Like it's growth. It's beautiful. It's part of history. It's part of the narrative. It's part of the story of us.
It's the hero's journey.
It is the hero's journey.
That's a great way of looking at it.
Because that's the only way we can look at it. No matter what happens, no matter ups and downs of life, careers, whatever, it's all leading us to the place we're supposed to go. But anyway, I did this meditation and it was fucking awesome. You should, anyone out there wants to try it, it's called Insight Timer, and the meditation I did is called Breathwork for Healing and Intuitive Insight.
Is it 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's 17 minutes by Brie Mellisson. And it's a bit woo-woo. But you know what? I'm a bit woo-woo. So embrace it.
Everyone should give it a go, because if you can focus on the breath work kind of stuff for the time, it does have a very hypnotic effect. And anyone could say like, oh, you could get scientific and say it's just hyperventilating, or blah blah blah. But then the way it makes you feel is a real effect.
Yeah,
and I think then
it's tangible.
Yeah, so that's great. Like, I remember doing it once and sending you a message and being like, I feel electric. Like,
yeah,
it's like, whoa! It just gave me a lot of energy.
My penis is a lightning rod. But speaking of things that make you feel differently, Jeff, you mentioned to me that you'd been taking a new supplement recently. And because you do have new hair growth, my question to you is, are you taking human growth hormone? And how large has your penis become as a byproduct of it?
Well, I started taking HGH as a reason to just get a bit of extra oomph in the gym. Just do a single cycle, and I've actually started growing a shitload of facial hair because of it. And I thought, I read some of the things were that my penis and my feet would become bigger, but my feet have just become swollen and engorged.
How swollen on a level of 0 to grandma's when she flew a plane?
Probably grandma's when she flew a plane, bitten by 1,000 bees. Like, it's, and I was hoping my penis would also be suitably engorged, but it's actually shrunk, and
oh no,
the veins just appear more protruded. Yeah, I think my blood has become more viscous because of it. I think it's shortened my life, and I'll never do it again.
Shortened your life. I am now going to die at 45 because I did one cycle of HGH.
No, the supplement that I've been taking, Jonathan, is a turmeric, or turmeric, as I like to say, and people like to correct me. And then I say, there's an R in there that's not where you think it is as well. There's 2 R's in turmeric. It's kind of a delicious thing. It's like water soluble, and it kind of smells like Christmas. It's got like cinnamon and stuff in it. But I've been mixing that in my shake in the morning and then having it with hot water at night. And I think some of my inflammation in my body is going down.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm gonna keep doing it. I've also started taking collagen as well. It's good for joints. It's good for skin, things like that. And just standard protein stuff. If I will get my bloods done as I get older, I feel great. Recently I went to the doctor and I was like, I want to get my bloods done. He was like, what are you looking for? I was like, I don't know, I just want to get them done. He's like, honestly, don't go looking. If you feel great. And he asked me a bunch of questions. And he's like, he goes, if you're tired, you're probably just tired. You can tell me that you're tired and you might not be getting enough sleep at times, or that you drink too much coffee sometimes and you feel a bit on edge, or something. He's like, everything, all other functions is good and everything. And I was like, I basically said yes to everything. Everything was fine. He said, it's more of it can be potentially more of a strain on the medical system for you just to go start looking for something. Because he also said, well, sorry, I'll finish that thought, to go start looking for something. So if I get my bloods done and they come back like pretty normal, but like one thing's, just low, there's also natural variation. And then I'll be like, why is that low? And they'll be like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Should I start supplementing, or should I go get a scan on that part of my body? And they're like, not really. It seems within the healthy range. And I'm like, I want more of that. So all of a sudden I just start going down this rabbit hole of pursuing this thing that is actually not having any effect on me. And I'm taking potentially precious time away from someone who does have actual issues. That said, I would in the future inject testosterone directly into the head of my penis in a hope that I can, stay fit and healthy and youthful and energetic longer as I get older. But that remains to be seen. In the meantime, I'm pretty happy just to supplement with like natural stuff, eat healthy food, and check out a few other things.
Were you surprised at how well the turmeric supplement worked, or that you could feel it working?
Well, I'm not feeling it working like I'm becoming radioactive, but I think a week of taking it, I think about a week, I've just felt some, or maybe it's only been like 4 days, just some decrease in general soreness, and I'm starting to do some more rehab style stretches for my shoulder and stuff. But I think it's helping. It also could be placebo, but placebo is real as well. So yeah, I think turmeric, like fish oil, is just like a really good thing to take. Like pretty, like the upside is way bigger than the downside. So yeah, get involved. Are you taking some sort of? Are you taking drugs?
So I take vitamin C. I take zinc for my immune system. Both are very good. I was taking fish oil, but I've run low on that, and I probably just need to order some more actually. And then I use supplement sometimes on studio days or when we do a podcast called Alpha Brain. It's by Onnit, Onnit. And it's like nootropic, which kind of just makes you a bit sharper. And for me, it's it helps words come to my mind a bit quicker. It helps me concentrate. It helps me focus a little bit. It's not nowhere near as powerful as something like a Dexy or anything like that. It's more of just like a light.
For international listeners, a Dexy is something like a ADD medication like Ritalin or Adderall.
It's not like speedy or anything like that. It's more just like a narrowing of the lens, if you will. I find it quite helpful.
Do you find that the one that you drink is better than the tablets?
It's just more fast action.
I've never tried it because I remember buying a packet years ago and not really getting much out of it and thinking it was really expensive.
I think we've spoken about this before, but because we have taken Dexies in the past to get work done, or we've got experience with drugs and like coffee so much, our threshold for
change of state.
You want change of state. Basically, we all want change of state. People want to take any supplement and be like, oh yeah, I'm taking this supplement, I feel better. Yeah. You want that feeling.
You want the limitless pill.
Yes, exactly. We all want the limitless pill. And Alpha Brain, to get the limitless feeling, you probably need to take 3 or 4 of them.
And how many tablets is each pouch worth?
How many tablets in each pouch? Let me just double check. So the pouches tell you do not take more than 1 packet in a 24-hour period. It's the same as taking 2 tablets.
Which is the recommended dose anyway?
It's the same as taking 2 tablets. But even when I took the tablets, I have 3.
You are just a little rebel, aren't you? Go for gold.
When Rogan has them, he has like 5 or something. It's like not recommended dose. But I mean, it's gonna. Some people react to some people haven't had a good experience with it. I have. It's kicked off anxiety in some other people. But I find just like 1 sachet, 2 cups of coffee, and I'm pretty good.
For the whole day?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's so many other factors. Have I eaten well in the morning? Have I exercised? Have I slept well?
Yeah, I think before you take any sort of supplement, you need to get some of that stuff in line, because you can't be getting 6 hours sleep a night and then being like, I want to feel like I'm full of energy. I eat poorly and get 6 hours sleep a night. It's like, well, you can get natural energy pretty quickly back by just sorting some of that shit out.
100. But yeah, that's my supplement. I would like to get to a point where I have more supplements.
You need to know what you're trying to get from them, because otherwise you just be like, fix me.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to...
Every Tim Ferriss podcast I listen to, I get tempted by Athletic Greens every time.
I was very tempted, Jonathan, just recently. I think we should try it when you get back. I think I need to just work out a bunch of other stuff that I have going, and then work out if I want to add that into my lifestyle, and then also work out how long I'm going to do it for. Like, is it going to be something that I spend, is it a monthly spend I'm going to spend on that becomes like my gym or, a bunch of other stuff? Or is it something I'm going to trial here and just, and then not do again? But you never know. I think, maybe it's worth giving a go sometime when we're together and we can, inject the greens directly into each other's eyes.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
We got a question the other week on our Instagram that we didn't answer, but I thought we could answer it this week. We were asked, and I'll ask you and then I'll answer because I need a bit of time to think about it. I suppose we can just discuss it. That's what the podcast is, isn't it? We got asked if we got given a show on Netflix, what would the show be? And I thought it was a really good question, and shout out to Seb for asking it. What kind of show would you like Netflix to pay us money for and to create 10 episodes?
We've had multiple show ideas over the years, and one day we will sit down and write one of them.
And I believe one day we'll produce them as well.
But the one that I always come back to is the idea about the music manager.
The kind of like shitty wild manager who's just trying to cobble his life together.
Yeah.
I would argue that has kind of been expressed in something like Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was very based on the David Brent character in The Office, and has kind of been done by The American Office and a lot of other people. It's like the anti-hero protagonist that you kind of think is a dickhead at the beginning, but then you learn to love him because you see his faults and he becomes vulnerable.
And he's a music manager, a young music manager trying to give me a little bit more juice on what the story could be before we shut it down. Yeah,
it was about, he was a music manager doing music management part-time, and he was basically helping these young guys, but he was just like a bit of a, not a crook or anything. Sorry, I'm getting a fucking phone call. Yeah, so he was, I can't remember what his name was. But yeah, it would be I would feel like it's like something to do with the music industry, and it would be definitely a comedy, semi-autobiographical about like some of our experiences and just...
I think a funny DJ or music producer from Go to Woe story would be quite humorous, and like not like these people just do nothing, which is extremely funny and a very British take on it. I think doing something like almost like a retelling of and stretched out modern version of That Thing You Do, almost. Like a discovery thing, and then like some guys, they build up, and there's a lot of drama and a lot of interesting things. I'm not sure if you remember the show How to Make It in America, about the guy who had the jean company.
Yeah, I never watched it, but it was similar to
it was Entourage, right? But a bit more fashion based. Yeah. I think you could do that, but inject a shitload more humor into it.
I think I would also lean towards something, a kind of world where the ridiculous would happen.
Yeah, like there was an absurd edge.
Yeah, there would have to be a very absurd edge to it. It couldn't be too much based in realism, in my opinion.
A little bit of The Boys kind of situation.
Yeah, or even just like you look at shows like Parks and Rec, Arrested Development, those shows that are set in the real world, but it's so ridiculous. It's an absurd version of the real world.
Yeah.
Where crazy things can happen and they're just not questioned. That's it would have to sit in that place. For not a funny one, okay, so that would be the comedy that we'd write. What would be the non-comedy?
I think my idea, I've had a long-standing idea. Actually, I'm kind of reluctant to share that one because I want to write it because it's a funny.
Is that your Thai pirate idea?
Oh no, that's another idea.
I'll beep that out. So
no, you keep that in. That's fine. More so, I'll just do a brief synopsis of the kind of funny movie. A family, two parents go away and then they die in a not in tragic circumstances, but kind of like right at the start of the movie, they die and they're quite far away from their kids.
I'm in stitches.
Their kids get a call, and then it becomes this like coming together of these three adult children that are all at different parts of their lives they're not estranged completely, but they haven't spent time together. And then it's about them being like, what did mum and dad want? And they're all doing it in this small town. And I'd set it probably in the 80s or the early 90s. So problems weren't so readily solved by just pick up the phone, just text me, just thing. Like there was a bit more length to things. I've already thought of a lot of humorous scenarios and things like that. But that's something I'm, always bubbling away out.
I like that.
The non-funny thing would, if the budget was there, to just do like a six episode kind of like sci-fi kind of thing where it's set just as the world goes awry. Like it kind of got a budget of a few Black Mirrors, so it's got like some money behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically the first episode is like this like famous couple or these famous people, and then the meteor hits or absolute pandemonium. The world falls off its fucking axis, not physically, metaphorically, and it these people who have strived so far to get famous and to become worth something, quote unquote, all of a sudden have to fend for themselves in this kind of realm where like it's all about survival.
They have no currency.
They technically have no currency. And I mean, every episode you could meet a different character and you see the first 5 minutes, you see their rise to fame and, their Instagram followers and all this other kind of stuff. And then it's just like cuts to them, a bit like Lost did. And then all of a sudden you're there with that person and they're like, hi. And some of them would be good people. Some of them would be arseholes. And then the characters could interweave in amongst each other.
That's a great idea. I really like that.
Every single one of these ideas are copyright Jeff and Jonathan Hansen 2021. Please don't steal them. Or if you do, get us involved. We'd love to write with you. Do you know where that idea comes from? The joke that me and you have said to each other for the last like 5 or 6 years is that we will reach our success, the point we will finally make it, and that'll be the end of the world.
Yeah.
And it's almost like COVID-19 has been a bit of that, like, we're just about to, Jonathan just moved to the UK, signed with a good agent, doing this stuff, like things are going, and just hold on a second there.
Yeah. Pandemic.
So that's kind of, that's where that idea came from, but then adding in the, what are we worth unless we, what are we really worth?
Yeah.
And just
I like
a freebie on the other side. Another idea, this is probably more of a book because it's quite expansive, but hypothesizing a world where AI and humans interact really well, a la iRobot, we're buddies, we're all friends, or Minority Report, and then the AI says, all right, we're going to take jobs off certain people because we can do it better, and they do it better, and we're like, yeah, this is amazing, more time. And then over time, the machines just start taking over, and the people start having it. First, it was a good thing, and then it becomes a really bad thing. and then it becomes a little bit like they become our masters, but there's certain jobs that can't be replaced and you become an irreplaceable. And it's all about these people who have jobs and work in fields that can't be replaced by AI. So like, are they just the creative fields, and then the importance that are put on them and how AI tries to work them. And then they become like these rebel faction of like creatives that can rise up. Do they want to overcome the machines? Do they yearn for a simpler time, or are they happy to work with machines? And little bits of 1984 Meeks, Minority Report / Blue Streak, starring Martin Lawrence. Believe that. No, I don't know. I got lots of ideas.
I like that. I like that too.
I also think it's fun to think of ideas in a context of like two movies mashed together. Like,
yeah.
I heard recently someone say that Alien is Jaws in space.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like, can imagine just being like standing in an elevator with some guy and read my script. He's like, you've got 5 seconds. Jaws in space. I'm listening.
It's the elevator pitch. It's that's you need to be able to describe your film or your book or whatever it is in like a sentence that instantly makes people's ears prick up. I've wanted to explore a story where it talks about God. So basically, you see the mechanics behind heaven and hell. It almost feels animated and in the style of like classically drawn Michelangelo-esque drawings. Maybe it's like a graphic novel.
Yeah.
But like you see the story of God and the devil. It's not like it's not just the Christian God or the biblical, it's not like biblical stories. It's like, I struggle to, it's more of a vision I have in my head rather than like necessarily a story, but it's like a mixture of the DMT realm. You essentially, stories exist within the DMT realm, and that's where God and heaven and earth all kind of sit. And it's this kind of thinly veiled world between ours and theirs. And it could be a story of someone traversing that space, but you can only traverse it through DMT trips. It's one person's DMT trip, but they always go to the same place, and they always kind of become the same character, and they always exist in the same kind of narrative storyline in that realm.
Quite interesting. And maybe even if you took away the drug thing and set it in the future where that was a virtual space that they could always travel to, and that was like they lived this second life thing, but then it kind of started influencing actual reality because the world was so big. I think I've been reading a lot of science fiction recently. This short story, this book of short stories I got for Christmas from our brother. Exhalation by Ted Chang. It's really cool. It's a bunch of short stories, and they're really cool. The book's called Exhalation, but the all the short stories obviously have different names because they're different short stories. But the first one involves like kind of like BC time travel. This person walks into a bazaar and then he finds this guy that says, like, if you walk through this gate, you go 20 years in the past.
Sick.
And if you walk through that side of the gate, you go 20 years in the future. And then he tells the story. He's like, but before I let you do it, because you seem to want to do it, I'm going to tell you 2 cautionary tales. And they're just short stories, but they're like, he writes very well. The worlds you visit are incredibly interesting, and it just makes you want to spend more time there. It's like watching a really good movie or reading something by
Philip K. Dick,
or something by Neil Stevenson, who creates extremely rich science fiction worlds. But yeah, that's my book recommendation. But I'm thinking, when someone presents like a fantasy idea or something, I'm starting to be able to hold more ideas in my head about the future. Like all this talk of NFTs and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and stuff. I don't understand it or pretend to, but it becomes easier to understand when you read a bit about it if you can imagine 10 years, 20 years in the future. The same way that, if we said that the function of a smartphone was to be a mini computer in our pockets, you would have completely missed the fact that it's going to influence like entire industries like rideshare or Instagram or anything like that. So that's kind of the promise of Bitcoin and crypto, is that it's not the price of Bitcoin or any other currency. It's the technology that drives it, the decentralization of it, the access as well that it gives. It's that's one of the most exciting things about it. So yeah, and that gets easier to think about if you're reading some science fiction at the same time. I find.
For sure. Gets those juices flowing in your brain.
Yeah, totally.
It primes you to accept those ideas a bit more readily, easier. It primes your brain to accept those ideas easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we go, we had a show announced.
Yes, we did, Jonathan. We had a show announced. We are going to join Shock One and play some drum and bass at a winery.
Oof.
Which is really, really exciting.
Down south in Margaret River in Australia.
Yeah, it's the show's called Here Comes the Sun. And by the time you hear this, I think tickets should be available today, if today is Friday. But if it's not, just check on our Instagram and you'll be able to find access to tickets. I don't think it's a huge venue, but it should be a really fun show. We're playing with Boston Switch, Howls, and Father Bass himself, the Shocker, Shock One.
The Shocker. Shock.
And then on the Saturday, Crooked Colours are playing, and then on the Sunday, Tame Impala Sound System are playing. So that's Kevin Parker disc jockeying and playing all sorts of rhythms, and with some special guests as well, which is exciting.
Sweet. Sounds like it's going to be a fun time.
And obviously, I have the show coming up in a few, not this weekend, but the next weekend. I'm playing in Brisbane. Yeah, nice to see the good folk of Brisbane, and you'll be seeing a little bit more on our socials about that. But really excited to fly across the country again and play some music.
Shout out to the Brisbane Massive.
It feels like things are getting a little bit closer to some sort of normalcy here. But we'll see after our state elections what the borders look like and things, and hopefully, with our brothers and sisters over in New Zealand having some cases recently, I know a few shows have been thrown into turmoil for other artists.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can work out what our systems are, and there's potential for trans-Tasman travel. If not, let's just hope that everyone can get vaccinated and we can all start kissing in public again.
I can't wait. I also want to thank people for utilizing the discount code at short order. Simon sent me a message and said quite a few people had used it. So keep going. Keep going, people.
Shout out to Simon and the short order crew.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see. Great to see. Great way to support the podcast. Great way to support local business. Great way to support us and our friends.
And we'll have a few more announcements coming soon about a bunch of other stuff we're working on. We have been busy working on stuff and music.
We've been busy working on music.
Working on music and other things as well. And it's funny to think, like, it feels like ages since we've put out a tune, but really I've been working on so much different things that it feels like I don't know where my head's at. So yeah, but I'm excited about some of the stuff we're working on.
Me too. I think it's going to be good. I think it is good. I think all the stuff we're working on is good. I think we're doing well, buddy.
Same. All right, man. I'll let you get back to what you were doing, and I'll get back to what I was doing.
Okay. Even if that thing might be together.
Oh, don't tell them too much, Jonathan.
Oh, cryptic.
The mystery of the internet.
Cryptic.
Okay. Sounds great, man. I love you.
I love you too. And thank you so much for your forgiveness, and thank you for understanding
Thank you.
that I am a different person, and that we're all evolving. And I think that's a really good thing to realize. Something I was realizing a lot last year is letting go of some of the frustrations I have, and even some of the bad habits or the things that I think serve me that actually don't. I think that's really important.
Thank you for listening to me and being a better brother and being a better man. I shouldn't say that. You're not. It's not like you were a bad man before, but I feel like
I was a bad man skanker.
Thank you for recognizing parts of our relationship, and I think it's important for growth, and I think that we're growing together, which I'm really happy about. Evolving.
And we are, and we're broadcasting it to the whole world. This will be episode 44, I think, Jonathan. We're slowly approaching episode 50, which means it will have been it's nearly a year since we started this podcast.
I listed some achievements the other day, and the podcast, it made me realize that we'd been doing the podcast for nearly a year every single week.
Yeah, and our last podcast, we had nearly 50 episodes as well. It just happened a lot more sporadically. I think we should put together a bit of a highlight or maybe some short episodes of those interviews, because they are quite interesting. You know, we had a bunch of drum and bass artists as well as some of our mates and all sorts of things. So,
yeah, okay, that's probably a good idea.
All right, something to work on amongst the myriad of other things we've got, including all the show ideas that we've got bubbling around, or books and things like that.
Exactly.
Thanks again, buddy. I love you. I'll chat to you soon.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on your podcast app and keep up to date with all new episodes. They're going to be coming out once a week. We are Echo and Sidetrack on Facebook and Instagram. On Twitter, we are Echo Sidetrack. Go listen to our music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, or wherever your ears consume happiness. Lots of love, people.